Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are installing a dual air compressor by ARB underneath the passenger seat of this 21 Gladiator. We're going to be using the innovative AT Products mounting plate and their hose system that's designed to basically port into your driver's seat and passenger seat and then air up and air down all four tires at the same time. And the good thing about this one is it comes with the auxiliary button, so it'll just tap right into that auxiliary. You just have to run power to the battery with an additional fuse so that it further protects this thing because it has a pretty large draw on it when it's on. But other than that, it's going to be a really cool install, so let's get into it. So here's the ARB twin air compressor. It is very well made. I have one of these in the JL Rubicon and I have been very happy with it, and I decided to add one of these to the Gladiator because nothing beats having onboard air for airing up, airing down, unexpected flats, whatever. It's just really cool to have that confidence with you. Most of the wiring harness isn't really going to be neat as far as it goes for wiring it into the auxiliary port, so you don't need the switch and all that. We're just going to need basically the power relay and then tap into, again, the auxiliary switch. Alright guys, this is the kit from Innovative AT Products. They used to be named Innovative JK Products. I believe that the website still leads you to the Innovative AT through Innovative JK Products if you did a search, Innovative JK. That said, the kit comes with a bag. You can choose between orange, red, or blue hoses. I chose orange. I have red on my Wrangler. And the kit comes with the ARB twin air compressor, an optional pressure gauge for your tires, and a blowback for when your tires reach the pressure that you desire. And you set it through this little front dial, and when they get full, it pops and you hear the air venting from this port. I got the optional pressure gauge on this so that I had more of a visual without looking at my dash. I have the TPMS system, but what I noticed in my Wrangler is that it's a little bit delayed as far as when that tire pressure is actually met and compared to where it reads it. There's a slight delay, and this I think will be a little bit more responsive, and I won't have to rely on the TPMS from the vehicle itself. So the blowback valve gets set through this dial, and then when it's full, it releases. You hear it, close it, turn it off. Comes with the mounting plates, the hoses, and all the necessary equipment for you to tap into your seats and then mount it underneath your passenger seat. So let's jump into all that and we'll go step by step. It's not a really long process and the directions are very clear. Alright guys, the first thing we're going to do is flip our ARB twin air compressor upside down with our connections to the back. And we are going to mount these two provided Innovative AT Products plates to the bottom, making sure that they are parallel to each other. And what you're going to need is, from your ARB kit, you're going to take these bolts and washers out and mount this plate. They are 10mm bolts for your socket wrench, and we're going to mount these up. The long one is going to go as such, so oriented like that over these four, and the other one's going to go as such over these four down here. And what's going to happen is this hole and this hole over here are going to actually mount to the back bolts of your passenger seat. So washer, locking washer, and then washer, and then bolt, locking washer, washer, One here, one here. And then for the other one, bolt locking washer on that one, and bolt locking washer on this bottom one. And this is what's going to mount to your ARB to your vehicle, and let's just make sure that they're parallel. Tighten them up. So the next thing we're going to need to do is loosen up and remove these bolts here that cover the interior of your air compressor, so that we can rotate the manifold into a position where it'll fit underneath the seat. Go ahead and disconnect these. So as you can see, you lift up from the back and you're just going to have to pull forward on this front little bracket that hooks into place up in the front, and then it's still connected in here, so you can leave these in place and reach this manifold bolt right here and be able to loosen it to be able to rotate it as far over as you can. Alright, so it adjusts once you get it just loose enough, it'll adjust to the side. What we need to do is be able to have it just at the right angle to be able to screw in our port, our little T port for this thing, so that it has clearance. So you have a parts bag, and it consists of this T port right here, or this T chuck right here, and then we're going to put it into here where our compressed air is going to come out of. But I'm going to test fit it to make sure I have it in the right spot before I lock it down, because I'd like to know exactly what my limit is. It's right about, so I won't be able to put it on and have it any closer than where it is right here, because it's gonna hit.
30 songs, 32 if you buy the version from Target. So
that's the spot that I want it in. That's as far over as it'll go, and still be able to be rotated and tightened.
As soon as it comes on, it just takes me back home, and it makes me feel real comfortable, and like just, I don't know,
keeping an eye on it, making sure it doesn't move.
Enjoy that song a lot, and I'm really glad we had a chance to record it, and hopefully people enjoy it as well. I could see it being a single at some point to
now what I'm going to do is
highlight track.
Here's what's funny: we got
hold it in place and then tighten it back down.
I probably would have picked that one.
Really? You know me pretty good, man.
Go ahead and replace this cover, and what you're going to do is lock it back into the place up front here in these little vent holes. And then pull it back over, slides back down into place nice and tight, and we're going to go ahead and put these bolts back in. Good thing is it's all 10 millimeter. Okay, we'll reconnect these.
We're celebrating the new double album, Dangerous, and he's picking some songs, I'm picking some songs.
Alright, so now that we have this T fitting on right here, we're going to go ahead and rotate this thing back around, and we're going to remove these caps here, because this is where your intake is going to be, and we're going to put on these ARB caps for your air. Make sure that it doesn't do nothing but pull clean air, no large particles or anything like that. And we're going to now remove the bolts in the vehicle's passenger back, the back bolts in the passenger front seat, and then place this air compressor in there. Alright, so to mount this, we just need to remove these E12 bolts, which are like stars instead of a normal bolt head. So we're gonna have to remove these all together. And then we're gonna slide the bracket underneath and tighten it back down and then work from there. Leave it to Jeep to use an E bolt. I'm gonna slide this air compressor underneath the seat. And then put these bolts back in. All right, that's in there nice and tight. ARBs stuck up under there. There's just enough room for this thing to sit there nice and tight like. Now what we're gonna do is wire it up. I wanted to show you guys real quick these brackets and how these air chucks mount up. They're gonna come to you like this, and then you basically take off these nuts, and then you're going to slide it through, and it can be out as far as you'd like. And then the goal is to be able to get enough onto the back of this threading wise that it's fully locked in. So for me, I'm threading it like that, and it comes out enough. It's got plenty on the back, obviously, a lot of adjustability. I don't want mine out too far. I want it to look as flush as possible. And then I'm gonna take a couple wrenches and counter these really tight, and then I'm gonna mount them. Now you can mount this to your seat and then mount these on, no problem, where you like them, either way. But I'm gonna mount these before I mount them to my seat. Okay, so these are mounted. The next thing that you need to have is a 5/32 Allen key and a 10mm wrench to be able to tighten up these locking nuts on the back, slide them through, and then just tighten them up. And again, each side is kind of specific. They're universal mounts, but you need to make sure that you have the port lined up correctly as far as like how far out it is for each side. So we'll go ahead and mount these. Our next goal is to mount these side brackets. These side brackets are going to be used for where your air chucks go for your hoses that are going into your tires. A real clean look, lining it up with the back edge of this front seat bracket. And then I made my marks using a silver Sharpie, and then I'm going to be using a 15/64 inch, or a 15/64 inch drill bit instead of the 1/4 inch first, just to see if it'll fit through that. And I'd like a tighter fit because on the backside all it is a locking nut, and I just like things to be really clean and tight. So yeah, as I thought, it's a tight fit, but it works, and I'll be able to have a really tight fit with that 15/64 I like. And then we're gonna vacuum this out with a shop vac. But so let's vacuum this out, and then I'll mount this bracket into place, and then we'll go to the next step. I'm gonna need a crescent wrench for the back of this one because the bracket's in the way. Alright, we're gonna slide our seat forward, and then we're gonna move this little trim panel, access these rear bolts for this center console so that we lift it up and run our hose underneath it. Little trim tool will pop this thing off. And it should be a 10mm. And I'll put this right here in this cup holder, and then we're going to do the other side.
Should be able to lift this up now. We can lift this up a good degree. Alright, the next part is we're going to take this like 52-inch black air hose, and we're going to feed it underneath where these other wires are going underneath your center console. So if you look under here, you'll see your wiring harness for your seat and all that going underneath the center console right here. We're going to need to lift this up and feed this hose under with that stuff, making sure that we go underneath our emergency brake lines that are inside of here. It might be hard to see. I'm not sure if there'll be any view of it at all with this camera, but that's what you're going to do. And there's actually pretty clear description and viewpoint of this on the instructions. Now that we have this hose fed underneath there like that, we can plug it in to this T-port right here, or this T-chuck right here. And the driver's side is basically on the, is this big long one. And we're going to go ahead and plug it in here. And it's really kind of cool. These fittings, they're like, you're not going to mess them up. Just push it all the way in and you're done. There's nothing crazy that you got to do. So we'll go ahead and plug this guy in. And then it, as you can see, it won't de-seat when you got it. You pull on it, it's now you can take it out every time you want to. All you got to do is push into this black ring right here, and then it'll actually release this. Maybe push to forward just a slight bit on the cable itself, or on the air hose itself. But if you do that, you're good. You don't have any issues. And then we'll plug in this other side of this T-port, or this T-chuck, into the front, and then that'll go into the passenger side port for your air hoses, your quick connect, and then this one obviously goes to the driver's side quick connect. And for this cable right here, I'm gonna go ahead and tuck it underneath right here as such, and I'm gonna zip tie it to this little hole right here just to keep it in place. No wiggle around or anything like that. Won't get a chance of catching up or anything on anything. Keep that snug there, and then cut this guy off. Such. Tape her out. Alright, here we go. Nice and clean, goes underneath there, stays down in the right position. It'll keep it actually oriented right a little bit better too. And then we'll plug this guy in up front. Okay, for this front one, we're going to plug into the back of this port right here, and the air chuck down that T-chuck over here. And it's kind of hard to see. We're going to push this guy all the way back in. Make sure there's no slack in it. And wiggling it around, making sure that I have it fully seated. It appears to be fully seated. Okay, and then this front one is gonna get plugged in as such to this side port. Again, I'm gonna wiggle it around, make sure that there's no X, I can't get it in any more than I already have it in. Try again. Alright, seems to be fully seated. Now, the last part's just gonna be doing the other side and then doing the wiring from here. And because we have the auxiliary ports, we're going to line along this side of this trim and then plug into this interior, as well as go through the firewall and hook up to the battery. We're going to go ahead and button this back down because we don't need it up anymore. And now we're going to plug in this guy here to the front seat over there, but we're going to put the air chuck in line too. So this guy will go into the air pressure gauge, and then this guy will go into the side port. What we're going to do is connect this hosing up into here, but we have to connect it into this guy first right here. Actually, it wouldn't hurt to cut it some because that is a lot of excess that's going to be sitting there. I'm going to cut it down a little bit. Alright, so this only has to go up to about there, so that's plenty of space. So Now I don't want to cut too short, but I don't need it that long. So based on that, going straight across, we should have no issues cutting it right about here. Okay, and then we'll plug this guy in here like such, and then we're gonna pour it. We're gonna go out like this as your blowback, and we're gonna plug it in on the other side up here. And it should be good. Yeah, take off just the right amount. All right, looks good. Okay, so as you can see, the gauge is here perfectly in view. You have your blowback, you can shut off your valve back in through here. It's a tight fit, but everything's connected, good to go, perfectly in view. I really like it a lot. Awesome. Now let's go ahead and wire it up and we'll be done. Okay, so what you're looking at right now is actually the drill bit that went through my firewall inside of my footwell on my passenger seat. Okay, that's where it's gonna come out. If you drill right where I drilled, that's where it's gonna come out in the clear. Not hitting any wiring harnesses, nothing like that. Let's see if I can pull it down to show you. So it's super clear. There it is coming out right there. Let's go look at what it looks like inside. Alright, so the drill's still in there. I'm gonna pull it out and show you what it looks like. Right where this cable gets fastened into the plastic, right next to it. That's where it'll go through. Now we need to make this a little bit bigger to fit through that cable, but it's perfectly doable. Be warned though, that when you do go to drill that out, there's some insulation between that piece of plastic and your firewall, and you're going to need kind of a thicker drill to pull out some of that stuffing in there that's around this hole where you're going to drill. And that's the stuffing. Right here, there's a gap where you can run this cable through and then leave the rest of this stuff plugged in up here. So I'm gonna run the end of the wiring harness in through here, down the back side of the wheel well right here, where the inner liner is, and then through that hole I just drilled.
Experience to the next level.
So we're gonna push this all the way down and basically leave enough to power and ground all of this here. That gives plenty of room there. Excess will go in. Now we're gonna feed it through. Hopefully we got enough room. I didn't quite have a 3/4 inch drill bit, but it's pretty big and it should fit through snug. And snug's good. As long as it's not pulling, we shouldn't have any issues like that, and then it'll be easier to seal up. Hi. There we go. Okay, so the wire is pulled through, and what we're gonna do is run it along this trim panel, and then right into here, underneath this plate, and then reconnect. We're gonna reconnect those the harness, and then plug it in. All right, so we're gonna reconnect these accordingly. So those are back in. Now we're gonna run them underneath this panel. All right, guys. So I was looking for my wiring harness for these auxiliary buttons, and I ended up finding it after looking all through all this stuff right here. Incredible, because mine was tied in over here on my Wrangler, so I was lost. I ended up finding it way up here tied in right there at the end, right there. So I gotta like cut it out of this thing, out of this wrapping, and let's get this carpet out of the way. You can see it right there, them sticking out right there. That's them. So I gotta cut them out here and get them to come out so I can harness, wire into them so they're all the way along up here. So just in case you're looking for your auxiliary wires, that's where mine are. So 2021 Gladiator. All right, next thing we're gonna do now that we have this wiring harness wired up. So we have these guys hanging out, waiting to be connected, and so we're gonna use the blue and purple from our auxiliaries, and then the wiring harness is through the firewall and secured to another harness along the path to be able to keep it underneath the trim panel, and then all the way through, and it's connected right there. So we're going to connect the other harness. We're going to connect this harness now to the smaller port, and then we're going to run this guy along that same path, and we're going to connect in, according to the diagram, that wiring auxiliary 4 into this and coil. And this is the guy we want right here. I don't know what to do is strip it back. I'm gonna crimp on a female spadicopter. And we're gonna run this wire all the way up through here. Get these guys tied off. And we're going to, all the other ones are just basically in this housing right here. For now, I don't think that we need to connect them. The only one that we need is this purple one. We're gonna see how it goes though. I'm not gonna tie anything up until we're sure. Okay, well, that's that. And then we're gonna wire up the Jeep power stuff and make a test run and see how it goes. Alright, so I've got this slid in. Go ahead and pull it back out. And I'm going to crimp these two together. And hook them up to the positive, and then the blacks will go into the ground.
Pumpkin, whatever you want to call us. But we're here.
Celebrity dish. Bridgerton.
Slide this back through here.
Who's doing a whole bunch of duets with country stars. No more green hair for Billie Eilish. She says it's the end of an era.
Right underneath there, nice
A
and
new era.
everything's wired up now. Let's see if it works. Alright, let's go into our apps, our settings, and our auxiliary switches for power. We're going to go ignition, and we're going to go momentary, nope, latching.
Yep. And then let's see. It works. So we're good. If we did momentary, it would go to only while you push it. So we want latching. So you press the button, it turns on, stays on. Okay, you don't want it on the battery because it'll drain your battery when the vehicle's off. You want it on the ignition, so it'll only work when your ignition's on, which is really good. And then you don't need it to recall last state because otherwise it'll just stay on, and you don't want it to just automatically turn on every time you turn on your car. So again, latching, ignition, good to go. Everything is good. So now we'll just clean it up and we'll be done. Okay, so I cleaned it all up. As you can see, I separated the wires from the harness from the other auxiliary ports from the one that I used. I weather sealed it, wrapped up all the other cables from the wiring harness that aren't being used for connections into another plug, and zip tied it along here, and then zip tied that large harness right here, the remainder all together, and then worked it all the way along here together, avoiding these clips that are here, because that's gonna have to, your trim's gonna have to go back into these clip points, so make sure you stay out of the way of those. All the way in through here, and then both ports are down here and they are connected, good to go. Obviously you saw that it works, so I'll just put this back on and close it all up. Project's done. Took me most of the day just because I took my time and kept getting sidetracked with the family and all that. So I'm really happy about this. I think that doing it myself for the first time was a great experience. I think that anybody out there could do it, especially with this video now. Some people are just better with watching it on video and going, okay, step by step, this is pretty reasonable, rather than relying on some instructions that may or may not be as accurate or as specific as that person may need. So as you can see, the whole video was very step-by-step basis, just like the instructions, and the instructions were very informative. Everything that I thought was gonna happen happened, and the only thing that I had a question with was that wiring harness at the end, the smaller one, and what happens to those other ones, because it just says basically just plug them into this, you know, piece of plastic and leave them alone. And I'm like, I'm not sure if that's right. Not to question the designer's instructions, but just to be like, man, maybe I'm missing something. So again, go out there, get this package. You'll have air anywhere you go in the world, and I've been really happy with mine on my Wrangler. I know I'll be happy with it on this Gladiator. I'm super excited about it, even for just the simplest things. It's a big thing to have confidence in the fact that you're never gonna have this flat or inability to air up your tires after being out on the road or on the trails. Again, thanks for watching this video. I take a lot of time in editing these things and trying to make them as descriptive and visual as you guys might need. So drop a like in this if you like the video. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.